All right, I wish I could see myself. I hope I look all right. Sorry. So, hello everyone, and welcome to everyone who's out there. Women Rising is our second broadcast, which is fun, right? Tonight, picking up on where we were last week with emotional freedom. You know, we've kind of been talking a little bit about emotion, and so we've been talking a little bit about emotion, and you know, in the West, we are very steeped in emotion, right? We feel like, oh, as much as anything, it's like, I feel, right? That's kind of where we operate from. Well, often when we're in emotion, well, 99% when we're in emotion, it's not true, right? It's not true. There may be one kernel of truth, and the rest of it is a story that we bring from the past forward. Most of the time, emotion is from past events, right? So tonight, we're going to talk about who's chasing who. I think often we feel like we've just been running, like we've just started running on the inside a long time ago, right? You know, and often we're like, all right, so who are we running from and why? Those are the big questions, right? I think we feel that, you know. I don't know about you guys, but I know when I was going through my stuff, I just felt like I was running and like somebody was chasing me always, right? So things happen to us when we're small and they're too big. They're just too big. So we end up leaving our bodies. Normally we have a little glimpse of what happened at the beginning, and we have a little piece of what happened at the end. In the middle, we don't know, so we create something, right? We create something and we put it away, right? Well, every time we have taken off running, right, we've left something behind. It's not like we have just, you know, in these circumstances, you know, the little person that was, we ran off from them, right? We've denied their validity just as everyone else in the circumstance, right? Because we've turned our back on them as well. Because with each trauma, a strand of emotion is severed, right? With that strand of emotion that is severed, it's almost like there's a little being that goes with it, right? Because it's not like we're the same person today as we were even yesterday. So when you think of like the person that was when you were 5, it's not like they disappeared, right? They didn't disappear. Especially if you didn't incorporate them in you as you grow up, right? Because that's what happens. We don't incorporate them. We don't incorporate their pain or their wisdoms, right? So if you think about that, if you think about an extension cord, right? Each time one of those little wires is severed, it's compromising the integrity of the circuit to where eventually you're not going to connect, right? It's not going to be a complete circuit. And that leaves us alone, right? It severs us from our truth. It severs us from ourselves. We're just severed, you know? That's why, have you ever thought about, like, you know, you see somebody steeped in emotion and it's almost like you can see their age. It's like, oh, are you 13 right now? Oh, are you 20? You know, as a 60-year-old? Oh, you know, are you 5 right now as you're throwing this temper tantrum, right? You can almost see that in people as they, when they're really steeped in emotion, right? So the big piece is we never know which one of us is going to show up. So think about that for a minute, right? Think about what it would be. Ari, lay down. What it would be like to be in class in college, and suddenly that day you're showing up and hitched back into a circumstance that makes you feel like you're 5, right? Or we know we've been in circumstances where, you're right in the middle of it and you're so confused and overwhelmed and you feel so tiny and so small, right? Why do you think that is? Because, here's the piece. The wisdom of successfully moving through our challenges are locked away tight right beside our pain, right? So often when I'm working with people, right, and they're telling me these missing things like, hey, I don't feel worthy, or I don't feel this and I don't feel that. It's like, well, that got locked away. That got locked away right beside the pain of the circumstance that took it. Come here. Come. Come over here and lay down. I'm not sure why you're being so confusing tonight. You've been so good. Stay right by me. And, sometimes for lifetimes, this isn't the only round of the game. It's not. So some of these things that we're trying to wind up go lifetimes. We can see the cycles, right? They go on and on through generations, right? Through lineages, right? Backwards and forwards. We can watch it play out in our children and our family members, right? But how do you stop it? We have to take a trip back to the beginning. Now, this is for real. Like, you have to go to the beginning and pull it out. It's like a weed in your garden. If you just break the top off, it's going to splinter out and make fine. You have to go back to where it started and remember, right? And I know sometimes when we're moving through these circumstances, it's hard to be proud of her. It's hard to think, wow. It's almost like if you could separate yourself and you look back and you see a child standing there, you're like, wow, she did that. She really did that. And how cool she did that. How cool. What does she know from that? What does she know? Because I don't know it, because I ran away from her and she's still standing there, right? You're here to talk about it. So the intention is to release what's all locked away, right? The wisdom and the pain side by side. And turn around. Turn around, really, and see what you need to know. And that's truly the piece, is to sit down in your meditations and say, what do I need to know? Show me, right? Show me. Because if you won't, no one else will. No one else will. They can't. They can only see what you present to them. And if you don't know all the pieces, if you don't know the circumstance, the full circumstance, if you don't know the whys and the wheres and the hows, that's a big piece of you that you're just leaving behind, right? She needs to trust you. Oftentimes when I'm working with people, that's a big piece, is they claim to have trust issues, right? I have trust issues. And in reality, it's not that you're not trusting other people. You're not trusting your perception of them. You're not trusting how they're, quote, making you feel, because 9 times out of 10, they're pulling something up out of you that was. If you're showing up in a situation where you're feeling emotional charges, it's not about today. It's just not about today, right? Otherwise you'd have complete clarity. If somebody just walked up to you and you weren't carrying any baggage, you'd have complete clarity in, how to approach them, how to take action. You wouldn't be in a reaction state where you're backpedaling, trying to figure out where you're supposed to approach the situation, right? So you need to see her, you need to hear her, you need to validate her, and you need to bring her home. You need to bring her home. Now, this is a different place than like, like a multiple personality place. We all have these severed these severed strands of emotion, right? And often they happened at a particular time. So it's almost like a little bubble, like on your timeline, right? There's a energy field there that needs diffusing. So when the Buddhists talk about detaching from emotion, they're talking about releasing it, diffusing the charge that is held on your timeline, right? So that when you show up in current situations, there are no triggers there. There are no landmines for somebody to step on, right? That releases all this emotion, that derails what is right now. Does that make sense? So much time has been wasted. Now, I really want to share, guys, like, when I look back over my lifetime, I was 16 the last time somebody punched me. 16. I was 16 the last time someone had their hands down my pants when I didn't want them to, right? 16. I'm 55 today. 55. It's taken me that long to realize I didn't have to suffer. It took me that long to realize that that person is not me today, right? It's not me today. That's a big piece. Like when we realize that pain is different than suffering. Pain is different than suffering. I don't know why that switched, but fair enough, that works. We're just gonna let the hangout be there. Pain is different than suffering. Now, I know that when I was going through my stuff and people would say, you need to go back and heal your inner child. And it's like, what is that? Right? What is that? Like, so I wrote to her and I did all these different things. And it's like, okay. Until finally I realized that the space that happens in is when we're in that state of meditation. And it's really not very different than time travel. It's really not. You can go back, you can directly deal with what was and validate it, I know that when I was writing my book, that was very much how that process went. It was very much being able to look at that child in a separate place than where I am today, right? And be able to separate it. Like that child, how freaking cool was she that she maneuvered all that? And that she could talk to animals. How cool. How cool that she could, size up a situation in 2.2 and see people's secrets. Like she had to, right? She had to. But, in going back and seeing that, you also see all the amazing stuff, right? You see all the stuff and the wisdoms that little girl learned because they were sure vacant in my life. They were absolutely absent in my grown-up life, right? So how does that feel? Weird? It really, if you think about it, though, and you think about it outside of our bubble of like what we have been told is real, this completely linear timeline, and you think, all right. I mean, when you look back on a situation or a circumstance that is really pain charged, do you see a person standing there? You don't see yourself as this person standing in that circumstance when you go back and you're remembering. You see a child, or you see how old you were at the time, right? You're not seeing like, oh, you're standing there watching the situation as though you were in it. See what I'm saying? No. You see you see you in that time. It's like you're frozen. It's almost the same space as like, say like a haunted house, right? There's the impressions of energy left, right? Most people like think, oftentimes, people think they're ghosts and there's these circumstances that keep playing over and over again, when in reality, it's a frozen frame of time, right? They're not interacting with other people. It's like a time freeze, right? This is very similar to that. Very similar to that. Anyway, how does that feel? You guys have anything? Can you relate to what I'm saying at all? So when we go into meditation today, I'd like before we start for you guys to gather a time that's emotionally charged, a time when you're like, all right, however old you were, 12, 10, 9, whatever, all right? And we're just going to see that as the place we're going to end up, okay? And let's begin. I'm going to turn this music down some. This is a little active for meditation, isn't it? You guys want blankets? Yeah. I'll take one. Yeah. You want one?
No.
You sure? You want one?
I got my hoodie.
Stars?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So can you go over one before we begin exactly, so we're supposed to think about a time period in our life that was difficult and.
Yes. I will go over that again for you. Let me grab a drink. I'm going to guide you into a meditative state. So before we start, I'd like for you to just, and not in any firm way, just kind of have in mind a situation or a time period, right, that was difficult, where you feel stuck. That no matter whenever you think about it, you feel emotional, right? That kind of space. So we're just going to begin with our breathing. In through your nose, out through your toes. Just envision a circle. We're going to breathe on the count of 8. So in 4, exhale 4. God, I want to cast a sacred circle here today with our individual and collective highest and best held high at its center. We ask that any energies, entities, spirits, people that have their own personal agenda, we ask that they step outside of our circle at this time. I'd like for you to assess your bodies and see how that feels different. Now we're going to take a moment, and if you can see the top of your head, I'd like for you to drop down right into the center of your brain. And we're going to gather that power that is behind your eyes, and we're going to draw that back to join. It's just as if you were opening your fingers and a feather were falling, floating down into your heart space. Be very aware as that energy begins to expand and fill that space. Now we're going to invite in our personal guides, angels, the masters, any energies, entities, spirits, people, animals, that are here to elevate our journey, guide us, teach us. We ask that they join us inside of our circle at this time. I want you to reach down into the center of the earth, and we're going to pull up a cord and we're going to attach that to your root. You follow with your awareness as the life force of the earth touches each cell of your being with invigorating energies. And we're going to reach up into the heavens and we're going to pull down a cord and we're going to attach that to our crown. Now let's notice how this feels different. And you become aware of the energies as they become one. They start mingling and becoming one. Now we follow with our awareness as that energy rises up and rests on the crown of our head. You feel very peaceful, very calm. Very, very relaxed as the energy begins to seep through your scalp. You feel it beginning to drip on your brain, running down the sides. Until your brain is completely encased in the balanced energies of heaven and earth. You can feel your brain just melting into relaxation. You feel the energy moving down the sides of your face. You can feel all tension in your jaw release as your face begins to feel very, very relaxed. You feel the energy moving down your forehead. And it begins to do figure eights around your eyes, relaxing all the muscles around your eyes, behind your eyes. The energy drops down. Your nose is very, very relaxed. Begins to circulate around your mouth. Your tongue is very, very relaxed. As energy moves down into your throat, feel all the tension, all the stress. Just melt away. You feel all the muscles in your throat relax. As all the words, all the pent up words, all the words of secrets, all the words of others that you've held on to, they just rise up. Exiting your body through your ears, through your nose, through your mouth, through your eyes. You just allow. We follow along as that energy drops down into our chest, relaxing all the muscles in your upper back. Your chest, very, very relaxed. You feel the energy encase your heart. You can see it moving through each vessel, unearthing each hurt, each buried splinter. You see him rising to the top and caught up in the current of the energy to be recycled. We follow along as the energy moves through our lungs. All toxins, all impurities just rise up into the current. We follow along as the energy drops down into our abdomen. All the muscles in your lower back and stomach just instantly relax as if from the inside out. The energy moves through our kidneys, our bladder, our liver, removing all that's no longer useful. We're aware of that energy as it drops down into our pelvis. We instantly feel a new level of flexibility enter our hips. We follow along as energy drops down into our thighs, feeling very, very relaxed. Your knees very relaxed. Your arms are feeling heavy. Your legs are feeling heavy. Calves are very, very relaxed as the energy drops down into the tops and bottoms of your feet, moving down each toe, releasing what is no longer useful out into the universe to be recycled. Now we're going to bring our awareness to our mind. Your mind is feeling very peaceful, very calm. There's no thoughts of past. There's no thoughts of future. Just in this space right here, right now. I'd like for you to internally just take some steps back. 1, 2, 3. Fourth step back. 5. Now, as if up in front of you on a screen, you begin to see your thoughts as if they were handwritten, moving across the screen. And as they begin to slow, you begin to notice the period at the end of one sentence and the capital letter at the beginning of the next. The most intriguing part is the space in between. And as if being pulled by your heart energy, you're drawn to that space. You're not afraid, you're intrigued, you feel very curious. Because in this space, free of thought, something new and magical could happen. So first, just stick your head in. You don't know what to make of the stillness. But you're intrigued. Once inside, both feet, take a look around. On the walls on either side, as if they're hand-drawn, you see your life. There's a light up ahead filtering. Filtering through the ceiling. And you find your feet are taking you there. And once standing fully in the beam of light, you can feel yourself rising up. Feet firmly planted on the ground up top. You look around and take an assessment of where you are. Find your feet on a sidewalk. Up ahead, it's almost as if a campus. You see this large library. Your guides are on either side. Your spirit animals are there with you as well. You're not alone. As you reach the flight of steps, you begin to climb. 1, 2, 3. Feel very relaxed but very alert. 4, 5, 6. Very curious. 7, 8, 9. You want to know. You want to know bad. 10. Become very aware of the door. The doorknob is very intricate, very intriguing. But it opens easily. Once inside, you see this grand room. Desk in the center. There's library tables everywhere. You're not alone, there's other people there. The books go floor to ceiling. Kind where the ladders move on the rails around the room. But your awareness is brought to the movement behind the desk. little man that comes out and he asks you your name. And he scurries off. Comes back with an armload of books, plops them down at a table, and calls you over. As you find your spot, you poke your head inside of the book, and as if you're flying, you land easily where you need to be.